For years now, we have been told that the U.S. women's national team generates more revenue than the men. For years, we have been told that the women are far more popular. They draw higher ratings on television. We've also been told that these women are not being compensated fairly. Last week, I showed you guys that it is a total fabrication that the women draw higher television ratings. Today, I'm going to show you that they also generate far less revenue. Throughout the history of mankind, it has been proven countless times that systems designed to pay people money they have not earned, those systems do not work. We used to call it socialism. Right now, deacons at Woke United Methodist, they prefer to call it equity. There is no such thing as equity. Systems designed around equity, they always share the same equitable result: failure. Decades ago, Hugo Chavez, he transformed Venezuela into a country built on equity. Guaranteed income, everyone wins. When oil was running $150 a barrel, life in Venezuela, it was great. It was amazing. Everyone was enjoying premium steak. But what happened when the oil market crashed? If the average Venezuelan wanted steak, they would have to chase the cow down the street. I have seen videos of people in Venezuela literally chasing cows because they were starving. Last year, the brilliant, equitable minds in the federal government of the United States, they decided that we needed a double dose of equity in the soccer system. It wasn't fair that the men were making more money than the women. That wasn't very equitable. No. This is 2023, not 1923. The women should be paid equally to the men. Obviously, the people who devised this plan have never run a profitable business. To their credit, FIFA was not concerned with equity. FIFA wasn't worried about the women's feelings. They weren't worried about equal compensation. Under the system designed by FIFA, the teams who make the most money are the ones that generate the most revenue. In order to generate the most revenue, you got to do something that is the complete opposite of equitable. You got to win. If it were up to the equity engineers, there would be no winners and losers. Every game would end in a tie, which would be fine for the activists on the U.S. women's team since they enjoy celebrating tie games. Last night, the financials were released for the U.S. women's team in the World Cup. Just like their tie last week, I think it was against the Netherlands, there was plenty of celebrating going on. This is amazing! We are taking home over $7 million! The woke wieners were being grilled. The squash was steamed to perfection. The cucumbers were peeled and ready to be tag teamed. Once again, this was another celebration of failure. When I saw this number, $7 million, it got me to wondering. It got me to thinking because this doesn't make any sense. I looked up the FIFA pay model. Teams making it to the group stage, they are paid $1.6 million. If you make it to the round of 16, the team is paid an additional $1.9 million. Now, I know I'm not an expert in math, but I'm coming up with approximately $3.5 million for the American women. How in the hell are they taking home double that amount? Is this like the daily double in Jeopardy where you're allowed to double your money? At least in Jeopardy, you're required to get the answer right. You're not paid for failure. On the surface, it seems like the activists representing America were doubly compensated for huge embarrassing failure. According to my calculations, they didn't make $7 million. They lost $3.5 million. But then everything started to click. It all started to make sense. The reason the activists were able to make $7 million is directly related to the magical powers of equity. You see, last year during the World Cup, the men, they generated $13 million in revenue. According to the standards of equity, the men, they should not be allowed to keep all that money to themselves. No. We must take care of the women. We must be the knight in shining armor for the damsels in distress. Thanks to equal pay, the men, they were forced to split the revenue they generated with the activists. Now, to be fair, the men, they agreed to this bullshit deal. Why? I have no fucking idea. If some woman approached me and asked to split the revenue of my YouTube channel, I would politely tell her to fuck off. I guess the men on the American soccer team are less toxically masculine than I am. If you were to remove the generous donation from the men, each player on the U.S. women's team, they would have made about $90,000 apiece for their huge embarrassing failure in the World Cup. Instead, thanks to the dudes, each player is now taking home $300,000. Ain't equity great? To make matters even worse, the mainstream media continues to polish this turd. Most normal people would classify this World Cup as a huge embarrassing failure. America was heavily favored going into the World Cup. I remember their opening match against Vietnam. The money line odds were, I think it was minus 10,000, meaning you had to risk $10,000 just to win 100. There are plenty of theories as to why this group of women failed in the World Cup. Some people are blaming their affinity for the cucumber. Some people are blaming their proud membership at Woke United Methodist. Some people are even calling it karma for their disrespect of America in the national anthem. I don't agree with that. I think all of those had a lot to do with a lot of Americans refusing to support this group, but I don't think their belief in woke politics affected their performance on the field. However, that does not mean the deacons at Woke United Methodist didn't have an impact on their performance. I have been thinking a lot about this over the last couple of days. Me personally, I don't know shit about soccer, but I am listening to people who do know. People like Carly Lloyd, people like Alexi Lawless, and I hope I'm pronouncing his name right. To be honest with you, when I first saw his name, I thought he was a she, which used to be an uncommon thought, but in today's world, you can never really confirm gender without the assistance of a biologist. You look down and see a big bulge in that tuck-friendly bathing suit, that doesn't mean he's a man. It could mean they're really excited to stuff their tuck with socks. But anyway, I have been thinking a lot about this over the last couple of days. Now, this is just my own personal theory. And like I said, I don't know anything about soccer, but I've heard a lot of critics of this team describe them as unmotivated. They have been described as selfish, not caring about the team. I've seen them described as uninspired, careless. When Megan Rapinoe missed that penalty kick, she was seen walking off the field with a big smile on her face like she had just seen a pair of Hooters across the nest she shares with a Sioux bird. Maybe, just maybe, this group was so uninspired because they had already been paid. Maybe, just maybe, they realized they were already going to be paid millions of dollars thanks to the hard work of the men. So these women, they just weren't as motivated in this World Cup to go out there and win. Like I said, it has been proven over and over, when people are compensated without having to produce results, it deprives them of ambition. It completely takes away their motivation. Just think about it. Let's say you're making, I don't know, $50,000 a year. What if I told you, I'll pay you $150,000 a year, but I still want you to show up every day to work to collect the other $50,000. How motivated are you going to be when you're at work? How likely are you to perform at a high level? The vast majority of people, they're not gonna perform. They're just gonna collect the money. Like I said, the mainstream media, they are doing everything they can to polish this turd. They are trying to shield these damsels in distress from any and all criticism. Earlier today, or maybe it was yesterday, CNN came to the defense of these beauties. They tapped bitter Breonna Kyler to deliver the defense. Former player Alexi Lawless, he has been highly critical of these activists representing America. He got on Twitter and tweeted, or he got on X and X'd. Whatever the fuck, I don't know. Either way, Alexi Lawless got on social media. He said Megan Rapinoe's stance on political and social issues caused millions of Americans to not support this team. Now, that is 100% fact. But according to bitter Breonna Kyler at CNN, Alexi Lawless, he is not qualified to make this assessment. Why? Because he doesn't have the accolades that Megan Rapinoe has. Alexi Lawless hasn't scored as many goals as the Mexter. Now, of course, bitter Breonna conveniently failed to mention that Alexi Lawless, He was a defender. I know I don't know much about soccer, but I'm pretty sure defenders, they don't score goals. Another thing the mainstream media is conveniently overlooking when polishing the turd of this team filled with activists is the television ratings. Now, the media, they were quick to celebrate when ratings were released for the first two games. But the media, they have been strangely silent this past week. I wonder why. Ratings for the game of epic failure Sunday morning were absolutely atrocious. 2.5 million people tuned in to watch Megan Rapinoe become the latest nominee for the Huge Embarrassing Failure Awards. Now, that was a 21% decline from 2019 when their fourth game was broadcast on FS1. Of course, the time slot did play a huge factor in this number, but like I said last week, this is an absolute nightmare scenario for Fox. Fox paid a shitload of money for the rights to broadcast the World Cup, and now their only draw in the tournament has been eliminated early. You know, I keep seeing all these complaints about the criticism of this team. Players are complaining, the coach was complaining, the media obviously is complaining. It is the definition of hypocrisy. For years, Megan Rapinoe and other female athletes, they have been begging for attention. They have been begging to be noticed. Now, they are receiving the attention they so badly wanted, but it seems that they don't want to take the criticism that comes along with the recognition. You can't have it both ways. You can't beg for attention, then complain when you're not receiving the attention that you desired. Maybe I'm in the minority here, but I was glad to see this group lose. I'm glad they're eliminated. I normally always support any team from America, but I just could not support this group of women. I'm glad it's over personally, but give me your thoughts. The U.S. women's team, they generate $3.5 million in revenue. Somehow they take home $7 million. Now, in my eyes, that represents a $3.5 million loss. Does that sound fair to you? Does that sound equitable? Women being paid money they didn't earn? You let me know. Sound off in the comments below. Like, subscribe. I appreciate you guys and all your support. Keep sending the emails for topic ideas. btlkc84@gmail.com. Obviously, I can't get to all of them, but I'm getting to as many of your ideas as I can. Follow me on Twitter at KC_BTL84, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.